Okay, hi everybody. This is Anita Brandrowski from the Fair Data Informatics Lab at UCSD. As a conflict of interest statement, I also run SciCrunch Inc. This is a company that works with publishers to do various things, including add research resource identifiers to manuscripts. Okay, so what I wanted to really focus on today is looking at software tools, right? So software tools, and one of the things that we spend a lot of time on, we think about a lot, is how they're cited. So this is an example of a software tool. This is called LMeasure. LMeasure is, as you can see by the extraordinarily RGB type website, a relatively older tool. There are no code meta things associated with this. And one question you might ask is, well, is this thing even really useful to anybody? And so the answer seems to be actually yes, right? This really crappy website for a software tool is actually associated with 8,960 results in Google Scholar. Most of those, or many of those at least, are quite high quality. When we look just in the last year, there are 190 things, papers, preprints, scholarly outputs that talk about LMeasure. Now, maybe they're saying this is a really crappy website, but I think not, actually, because I know some of the people that actually use this, and it's actually integrated into various other tools, including some repositories. So one of the questions is, is that one website the only place you can get LMeasure? And the answer is no. There are at least 2 repositories and 2 registries where you can actually also get the code. So our registry, the SciCrunch registry, does know that LMeasure exists. Elixir's BioTools registry also knows that LMeasure exists. The code is sitting at Nitric and also at NeuroDebian. So this is a tool that has been described by several places. And what I wanted to talk to you guys about a little bit today is one of our efforts, which is to take pages like this and link them. So for example, with the Nitric repository, you can already see that the RRID is there. Can you see that? The RRID part? I'm sorry, I have a single screen at home, so it's a little difficult to know whether you're actually seeing what I'm seeing.
Yes, we can see it.
Okay, good. And so that's this Nitric alternative URL. That's where we know about this particular page. We know about the BioTools page, and we know about the alternative identifiers, including the BioTools identifier. So this is an active process. With Nitric, we share everything automatically. With Elixir, we haven't gotten to the automatic part with BioTools yet, but we definitely would like to go there, and I'll point out where that how that works. Now, the thing about this is we ask people to use the name and the RRID for this particular tool as the citation. But then we do some other fun things with the URLs that I'll show you in a second. So repositories and registries working together. Again, the goal here is to cross-map identifiers for key tools. So we want to all know about each other's descriptions of these tools, and to try and create a consistent citation format for biological tools that's also associated with how the journals would like this to work. So when we, actually search for all of the identifiers that we know about, and LMeasure, for LMeasure itself, we don't actually get any additional results. But again, that's potentially because also, whenever you talk about LMeasure, there isn't a lot of spurious results. And so in this case, all of the identifiers, they might help a little bit to really nail this down, but the name of the tool is extraordinarily search friendly. There isn't another word in the English language or any other language that is L-measure. In fact, if you search for that, you get fairly good, clean results. Now, that's not always the case, as some of you have maybe heard of this thing called Python. Python Maloris is a lovely snake, and in fact, this is this is part of the herpetology literature, and so we know that currently there's a lot of word collisions and other things, and some tools, including like from neuroscience, where one of the most famous tools is actually a language which a lot of things are written in. It's called Neuron. It's a horrible, horrible, horrible name for a neuroscience related tool, because of course, as many of you should hopefully know, a neuron is a brain cell. And if you type in the word neuron into Google Scholar or PubMed or anything else, you will get a lot of results, and very few of them will actually be about the language neuron. So it's often very difficult to disambiguate these things. This is another web page for another software tool. This one is called Trimomatic. It has all of these lovely things like omic tools, bio tools, cross mapping already done. I believe this one also has Debian URLs. And then the question is, what do we do with all these URLs that could be a place or a way for people to cite this particular tool or any tool? What we do is we actually have a fairly extensive text mining pipeline. Now, text mining only touches about a quarter of the total literature, unlike Google Scholar, which touches basically all of it and then some. But text mining in the open access literature, where it's allowed, has allowed 6,500 citations for this particular tool to be found. And those citations come from named entities. So if somebody uses the word Trimomatic within a context of a sentence that describes a software tool in the methods section, it would go into this, this list. Or if they're using the URL for this particular tool, or any of the other URLs that we know about, old URLs that we know about, which hopefully would be something that Software Heritage would also talk to us about, as well as any of the identifiers that we would know about. So various types of IDs and alternative and old URLs for the same tool. We have the fact that this is the identity of the tool. All of those get searched through the open access literature. And our IDs, we have a funded project to actually look for those things by hand. So whether the RID appears in open access literature or closed literature, we will find those papers and also stick them here. And one of the things that you probably don't know is that we have recently, relatively recently, within the last year, we have actually figured out that we want to thank people for actually using our IDs. So in this case, we're searching for, the various identifiers here. That in this case, I'm executing a search across all time just for the IDs, not the name of the tool, because the name of the tool is not usually included in our Google, in the things that we fire off into Google Scholar. But the first result up here is an RID paper. And so what happens is that we find that particular paper, we annotate it usually within, now for newer papers, we actually annotate it within about a week of the paper being out. And then we'll tweet about that a day or two later. So we're still able to and those tweets, of course, get associated with the paper, so they go into the altmetric score. We've never heard any complaints about being thanked. We have heard some, non-complaints, but this seems to be okay by the authors. They seem to like having a higher altmetric score. So we think that this, while it's not a huge push, it's a little bit, and every little bit usually helps. Okay, so where do we go from here? So the current workflow for the BioTools registry is that we've done some manual mapping. There are about 1,700 tools that are currently cross-mapped with BioTools identifiers. And our goal into the future, and Hervé is here, so maybe we can restart the conversation again, is to start a more automated process where both the registries would kind of check each other's records before adding a new record to this. And then all of those, I mean, there's no reason why we shouldn't have a BioTools web page for a particular tool. There is no reason why we shouldn't have an ACL page, ASCL page for any of these tools, but it's better if they know about each other. So we'd like to be able to cross-map those identifiers with the various other registries and repositories. And again, this collaboration should actually improve the ability of the systems to find these references to software and distribute the work globally, taking care of our communities, because the more unambiguous ways to describe a tool that we know about, I think the better it is for our communities and for us to be able to actually bring those citations to the user community, which is these tool makers, people that made L-Measure and Trim-O-Matic and various other tools that may or may not have been published, right? So I know that you guys spend a lot of time talking about code meta, and I know that Alice has actually created code meta with all of the ASCL registry records, and I'd love to be convinced and understand how that could help the biological tools users, yeah, so
Thank you so much, Anita. That was a great talk. So we've got time for one question if somebody wants to ask something. Hans is the winner.
Hello, I'm Hans from Elixir Denmark and BioTools. I just joined today for the first time. I just want to say that yes, we should resume our collaboration and keep on cross-referencing entries. And one other thing I want to ask is, how are your rules regarding it's kind of a weird question, but we want to link and make it more public in BioTools that we're linking to SciCrunch, and we want to use your logo, and if that's something that you would is there a process to do it, or we just use it?
Just use it.
Yeah. Okay. So I mean, in other places we had to ask. So
okay. Yeah.
just to make sure we don't get into trouble.
Yeah. Okay. Just use it. Whatever logos that you guys need, I'll try to get you. If you can't pull it off the website.
Yeah. I
just let us know. And again, ideally, I would like to see that there would be a search when you add a new tool, that there would be a search in our system and your system to make sure not to add duplicates.
Yes.
And, and then if that does exist in our systems, then there should be just this cross-mapping step where you tell us, that it exists. We tell you, here's your ID, and that's it.
I think I completely agree, and I think we should probably have some sort of discussion on how to do that in a more technical, like to actually how to make sure where to search for and what are the links and so on.
Exactly, and I have services for all of that. So just getting that squared away would be awesome. And again, they're used currently by repositories like Nitrix, so I know they work.
All right.
I may not be able to find them easily, but they will.
We'll find them eventually.
Yes, exactly.
Thanks a lot.
Okay.
Well, that was exceedingly productive. Thank you very much, Anita, for the talk, and thank you for the question. Seems like we've got a productive collaboration there.